Borders are another interventionist measure. All restrictions on the free circulation of goods and services, that is, on international free trade, are harmful. They are restrictionist measures, as we were saying the other day. We were discussing Ricardo's law of association in its international trade version, the Ricardian law of comparative advantage. Protectionism harms everyone. It does not benefit anyone. Furthermore, it is like a drug. It causes a misallocation of resources, which, once in place, is very difficult to dismantle. In contrast, the free market benefits everybody. People all specialize in the activity at which they have the greatest relative comparative advantage, and then they exchange the products of their efforts. In other words, the best, cheapest, and most efficient way for the Swiss to buy oranges is to build watches. Of course, oranges can be produced in Switzerland, and they can be produced in, Greenland, but at a disproportionate astronomical cost. The cheapest way a Swiss can find to buy oranges or pay for a vacation in Spain is to make watches, and vice versa. The cheapest way a Spaniard can find to buy a watch is to grow oranges or start a business offering tourist accommodations on the coast. That is where our comparative advantage lies, as opposed to watchmaking in the case of the Swiss. Each person specializes in the activity at which he has a comparative advantage, and then he exchanges with others the fruit of his efforts. It would be crazy for us to wish to duplicate in Spain all of the production processes necessary to obtain the goods and services we need, even in those lines of production in which we are not competitive. It would be just as crazy for the Swiss to insist on growing oranges in the Alps. Thus, the essential principle is that international trade benefits everyone. And therefore, to the extent that borders are used as a pretext for creating tariff barriers, trade obstacles and so on, they impoverish rather than enrich. When, as in the European Union, there are no economic borders, there is no difference between international trade and the interregional trade, which, within Spain for instance, could take place between Catalonia, Palencia, Badajoz and Galicia, and an efficient allocation of resources tends to result. Please review all criticism of the myths about the balance of payments, like the idea that a surplus is desirable, but a deficit should be avoided, and the idea that obstacles should be put in the way of imports and exports should be encouraged. In short, all of the arbitrary notions about whether our balances are too high, and whether we are buying more or less than we should, etc. In the end, a balance of payments is simply an aggregate of the decisions of individuals, and ordinary human beings make their own decisions about what they must do. Indeed, in Spain, there is always a deficit in the trade balance of goods and services. But why? Because there is a massive influx of foreigners who come to spend their vacations in Spain. Tourism accounts for approximately 10% or more of the gross domestic product. And in fact, it should not surprise us that with the foreign currency these tourists leave us, we buy more goods abroad than we export. It makes perfect sense.